started recording on the tail end of your Bush impression there. Or your impression of Dana Carvey doing an impression of Bush.
That's
I
right.
should say. It really sounds nothing like.
Nagada.
So we're back, folks. Did you miss us?
It's us.
Crickets. See, if I was a little quicker on the soundboard, I could have done a cricket sound effect, but I'm not.
Here, wait, I can do a cricket. Hold on, here we go. Are you ready? Wakikakapa! Wakikakapa!
Here we go. I got crickets now.
Nice. That is pro audio.
That's how you do that.
But some crickets, to be fair, go wakikakapa!
Yeah, they may not be indigenous to your part of the country, but just because you've never heard one, there's more, that it's bigger than your philosophy, Horatio, is what I'm trying to say.
Don't be judgmental.
So, yes, once again, this is Corey and Matt talk about, and we're on iTunes now, so go search for us.
Lord, yes.
Put in Corey and Matt, and there we go. And I bet there's a Matt and Corey podcast who they might be pissed at us now, because now if you search for Corey and Matt, we come up first.
As it should be.
Exactly. So
those guys are great. Subscribe to them too.
Yeah, exactly. It's we're all a big family here. We're all buds. It's not a zero-sum game.
It's not. We can all win.
So we've been busy doing stuff and work and things. And
busy as all hell, damn.
And haven't been with you in a while, but now we are again. We're going to try and keep a regular schedule because we hope to be picking up some more folks with the new iTunes presence. We're going to talk about the normal geeky stuff, and good news for you, we kept it to an hour this time. So, hey, not including the intro, though, so that's going to push us over an hour. At any rate, we're going to talk about Apple retail and retail in general a bit. We're going to talk about, a good chunk of the beginning of the show is about retail and about phones and electronic stores and that sort of thing.
Electronics items.
GameStop, Best Buy, Radio Shack comes up a little bit. Apple, Samsung. Yeah, lots of good stuff in there. Then pretty much the back half of the show.
It's our entertainment portion.
Entertainment.
Yes, sir.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
Hello, my ragtime now.
Well, I don't know if that's royalty free. We might have to edit that out. At any rate, we're going to
under
talk
30
about,
seconds. We're good.
Yeah. The new Transformers trailer. We're going to talk about some Avengers casting news, some Captain America Winter Soldier bits, if you will. There's going to be a fan screening day of that in various places. Guardians of the Galaxy trailer came out. It looks hella cool.
We liked it a lot.
And there's a pretty cool episode of Community we're going to talk a little about.
An homage to 70s sci-fi.
Indeed. Particularly Logan's Run, but with some others peppered throughout.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So listen up, and the music will be starting in a minute. And certainly, if you have the iTunes, or even if you don't, you should get it and subscribe and tell your friends and write some reviews, even if they suck.
Yeah, even if you hate it, just put a review in there.
Yeah, come on, help a guy. Listen for the intro music, and it'll be coming on in a minute. I'm Corey.
My name's Matt,
and here we go. And here we are once more.
We have returned unto you.
It's been so long, I don't even know if I remember how to do it.
What the hell's the name of this show?
It's Matt and Leroy. It's
Timmy and Bobby.
Jeff and Lakeisha. I don't know.
Lakeisha and Ashley's Fashion Minute.
Yeah. 3 snaps. So, yes, we've been a little remiss in our podcasting duties, but, things happen. But now we're back, and we're on iTunes now, so.
Well, yeah, yeah, we should add that we were remiss. We took a while between shows, but honestly, we were kind of waiting until we were on iTunes anyway, because we were kind of jury-rigging it with the whole YouTube channel. Yeah. So,
which we will continue to do, but of course the real money's going to be in the iTunes feed. So you can get this in whatever format is most convenient for you.
Subscribe now.
Yes. You can check the show notes and see what you need to see for all that info. In short, if you go to CoreyandMatt.com, that's Corey with an E, not the apocryphal CORY. We don't cotton to that.
Only that Dr. O bastard does that.
Exactly. So CoreyandMatt.com, you can find out everything you need to know, all the necessary links and whatnot. We're podcasting from actual furniture this time, so that's a nice new thing.
Studio F,
and this enables my the mascot, my dog, to accompany me.
Shivering Willie,
whether I like it or not. He's yawning. He's very enthused. But anyway, so some stuff has happened. I mean, it's been, the beginning of the year is always a little slow. The end of the year, beginning of the year. But we're back. We got some stuff to talk about here.
And we're going to try to stay like weekly.
Yeah, more or less. Mostly, as our description says.
Somewhat.
Mostly weekly. Let's see. So we're going to talk about some Apple stuff and some general electronics, and then some entertainment news, and we'll try to get you out of here in an hour or so. Now you were just telling me, I think this was a different article, but talking about the same thing. The size of Apple's retail market share.
Yes, sir.
At this point, I believe you said that Apple is second in the United States now in electronics retailing. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Apparently, Apple is the second largest U.S. specialty electronics retailer, behind only the flagging and rapidly decaying Best Buy.
Yeah, I was about to say, if Best Buy is number one, I don't know how much longer that's going to last, because I just don't know if Best Buy's business model is going to survive. I don't think it is, really.
I don't either. But when you look at the list of the top 5, it's pretty astonishing. We've long said in private discussions, away from the ears of our beloved listeners, that Apple's retail arm is underrepresented and underrated in terms of its influence on the market. Because Apple can release almost anything, and through its retail network, basically force it to become a hit.
Right.
I mean, people bought iPod socks. Let's just bear that in mind. That happened.
Yep.
People bought those.
Damn sure did.
I mean, lots of them. I sold lots of them.
Lots of iPod socks.
So
that's a sock you put over an iPod.
Yes, rendering it essentially useless.
Look it up.
But yeah, so when you consider that Apple is now the second biggest electronic retailer in the United States, that's pretty amazing. Because guess what, party people? They don't sell shit except for Apple stuff. And, a small, tiny selection of third-party products closely related to Apple stuff.
I was about to say, stuff that goes with Apple stuff. So, like, you got your iPhone cases, headphones, that kind of thing.
And that's pretty much it.
iPad cases.
So the other guys on the list are Best Buy, Radio Shack, H.H. Gregg, and Microelectronics. So just imagine that. Apple is the second biggest electronics retailer, pushing only Apple products. That's a hell of a strategic advantage, my friend.
This is a bit of a tangent, but I was surprised to see Radio Shack as high as it is.
Well, yeah.
Because for me, at least, they've been so irrelevant for so many years now. I just didn't give them a second thought anymore. I had no idea they were still in the top 3.
If you're trying to do something, the only time I even go into Radio Shack is if I'm trying to do some weird electronics jury rig thing in my house that I probably shouldn't be doing to begin with,
right.
But I'm in day 3 of it and I'm trying to patch the shit together. That's when I might find myself going into a Radio Shack buying some type of adapter that they haven't manufactured since
I need a
the
crystal
70s.
or a resonator. If you've got either of those, that would be great.
I need the B,
A capacitor,
the B adapter, not the A.
some soldering flux.
That's clearly the A adapter. I don't want that.
Step aside, fool.
Show me to your stock. I will select it myself. Ugh.
I don't.
The colors, children.
I mean, what? Yeah, I don't know if it's, I know they do a lot of cell phone business, but yeah, I just had no idea they were still that much of a factor. And of course, I'm looking at the spread of percentages here, and Best Buy is 33.5%, and then Apple's 5.9%, and Radio Shack's 5.5%. So,
And that was 2009.
right, and see, what are we at now?
Apple has gone from 5.9 to 15%.
Right. And Best Buy came down to 31.3, and Radio Shack came down to 4.5. So, it's pretty sharp fall off after the first one, even now. Although the rate of growth and the rate of falling, they're going to cross at some point. But
Right, because Best Buy can't keep its stores in business.
yeah, and that's a whole conversation unto itself. I think there are various reasons for that. I think one of the best examples was last time we were at Best Buy and could not find, and nobody knew how to take our money. That was
Correct.
pretty much-
They didn't even have registers open.
Yep, and
They were selling things through what are those
customer
guys
service,
called?
yeah.
The Geek Patrol,
and the Geek Squad, yeah.
the Happy Geek Land.
And then when we went over there, they were like, "You guys should go over there," and we're like, "Well, they told us to come over here." So
Right.
yeah. So at any rate, Best Buy's got a lot of problems, about which we could talk for hours.
But yeah, the bottom line is that's a significant headline.
It's impressive for a store that sells only their own stuff, basically. But the rest of these, Best Buy, H.H. Gregg, they sell everything.
Yep. Although, the only other company on that list that has gone up in market share is H.H. Gregg.
Gregg, yeah.
And, of course, the reason is because they sell high-end stuff.
High-margin stuff,
They can
right.
make money.
They don't really do the loss leader thing. Yeah, they do appliances and big TVs and cameras, that kind of thing. So, yeah, they aren't interested in selling like the DVDs and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So-
well, you're not going to make any money selling Blu-rays and a 2-for-1 pack to Grandma.
Right. And, I think the loss leader is not going to work as a strategy very much longer, if it even works now. It's not like I know the actual turnover figures, how many people they get who buy other stuff in addition to the loss leader items.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt like it can't be that good because, a lot of people, they just come in to get that thing and then they leave. There's no motivation
Well, people
to hang around for the other stuff.
Right, and business analysts and just the public at large, rather, are enamored with the concept of market share, and they look at a place like Walmart and they get the wrong idea. They think, oh, Walmart's huge and has dominated the retail sector and put all these other stores out of business because they sell stuff so cheaply. That's not really the truth. What's really the truth is that they strong-arm suppliers into giving them super, super cheap deals,
Right.
and don't really care whether their suppliers go out of business. And it's free market capitalism, so I'm not sobbing for the the Mount Olive pickle manufacturing plant.
It ain't Walmart that's losing the money. It's
But that's how they do it. They
people
get
in business with Walmart.
right. Walmart strong arms them into super low prices, and then Walmart's made a very calculated plan that they will bring you in to buy the 2-for-1 jumbo-sized jar of pickles, and maybe they'll sell a high-margin item occasionally
Right.
when you do that, and they have the power and resources to get that kind of deal. Most other places don't. And even Walmart is not particularly profitable on a per-store basis. They're making it on volume.
Yeah. We're still talking about low margins. They just sell so much.
Yep. So, and that's where Apple comes back into the conversation because they're doing it in a whole different way, and their way, at least in the last decade or so, seems to be the more successful path.
Right. They make money on everything they sell.
Correct.
Full stop. The Apple, if Apple loses money on any single thing they sell, it'll be the first I heard of it. And not just a little bit of money, a good percentage.
We may have mentioned this before in another podcast, but if we did, I apologize. But it's worth mentioning that Apple and Walmart stories intersected a few years back when Apple, Walmart, the iPhone and the iPod became such big deals that Walmart said, we got to stock these. We're having people not come to our stores because we don't have these things. So we got to stock them. And, of course, they sent their contingent over. Steve Jobs was still alive at that point, and they sent their contingent over to Apple and said, well, okay, well, all of our other suppliers discount their products by blah, blah, blah to get them in our stores.
Right.
And what discount will you give us? And Steve said, we will extend to you the same generous discount we extend to everybody, and that's not a goddamn thing. So you either buy them or you don't. So you will notice that when you go into a Walmart to buy an Apple product, a Walmart iPhone is $5 less than everybody else's iPhone, and Walmart's eating that $5.
Yep. And when they do their sales that are like, the $50 off and that kind of thing, it ain't coming out of Apple's pocket.
No.
It might come out of AT&T's or something, but it ain't coming out of Apple's.
Not going to happen.
But yeah, that Apple can. Yeah, I mean, what other company can dictate terms to Walmart like that?
I mean, the funny thing is, probably a lot could, but they just don't.
They just don't.
They're as big as Walmart is. There's other ways to sell your shit. Americans like to buy stuff. You can say no to Walmart and sell your stuff elsewhere. In fact, at this point, given Walmart's reputation, you might get an advantage by saying you can't buy our stuff at Walmart.
Right. Kind of the philosophical divide between the Walmarts and the Targets.
Yes.
Because I think Target's going to hang around too, because the people who refuse to go to Walmart.
You got to have some kind of department store.
Right. And Lord knows I prefer Target, but sometimes you need something Target just ain't got. And that's what keeps me going to Walmart.
Right.
That and as we talked about before, there are a lot of occasions Walmart's just plain cheaper. But there's stuff that Walmart ain't got either. Which is what I like to go to Best Buy for. Mm-hmm. But it's getting to the point where I go to Best Buy looking for something, they ain't got it either.
That's right.
They got a store full of crap that I don't want. So. It's not just any one thing, but and you're right about the places like Walmart exercising their power, and the funny thing is, you can watch it happen, and like Best Buy is starting to get squeezed out, and Best Buy at one time probably had the leverage to do the kind of shit Walmart does, but they didn't, and they don't. And now it's too late.
Or do it to Walmart. Even if you didn't want to squeeze the supplier, you could have said, look, we want to buy all of your hot electronic product A.
Right.
And they could have bought it and left Walmart with none.
Nothing. Right.
You're right. The same thing with Kmart, same thing with
Toys R Us.
Sears, Toys R Us, go down the list.
At one time, these were all bigger than Walmart.
Had more financial clout, etc.
In their particular areas. It had the market share, but they did not perceive a threat for these up-and-comers, and this is what happens.
Right. And the only thing that'll take Walmart down now is if the stores become so horribly ghetto that people just refuse to go to them.
Will go at all.
And certainly they're leaning in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, some of their new one. Well, that's the thing, though. They build a new one, and it's pretty nice, but how long does it stay that way?
Well, you can't keep it that way very long.
I mean, they're just so massive, if nothing else.
They're massive. You pay the employees crap. Most employees... Now, if you work at Walmart, don't get mad. I'm sure there are some people that work at Walmart that work very hard, but most people are paid as little as Walmart can possibly pay them. And, as soon as a manager turns their head, they're going to take a dump in the hallway. They just don't care.
Right. Well, even if you do work hard, you know, Walmart may or may not reward that.
That's right.
It's not a job you want to hang around in. You know,
one wouldn't think. At least you get up into the management ranks,
right,
maybe.
Right, but you know, given how many managers there are per store and how many of every other kind of position, that's a hard row to hoe, I would think.
Yep.
Yes. The bottom line is Apple's kicking a lot of ass with fewer stores and fewer products.
Apple's retail division is very important and doesn't get talked about much.
Yep. So it kind of is in sharp, well, not sharp contrast, but relates to the next story in an interesting way. And this is just a rumor, but there is a claim that there are 3 million unsold iPhone 5Cs out there.
Yep.
And that production has basically stopped on the 5C until some inventory that can be cleared out.
Which is funny because that's how almost every other electronics manufacturer in the world works.
That's how they do it. Yeah. It's unusual for Apple because they usually run at pretty low inventory, and they basically can sell crap as fast as they can make it. So I don't know. I have various thoughts about this. If true, I know just anecdotally, I do not see a lot of iPhone 5Cs out in the wild. I see 4s, or probably 4Ss, but 4s, 4Ss, 5s, and 5Ss. Like I said, I've seen a handful of 5Cs, and you know, we can just speculate as to why that might be, but you know, I think
I know why it is.
Well, yeah, go ahead. I have some theories, but
it's too goddamn expensive compared to a 5S.
Yeah,
it's
that's
that
what
simple.
I was going to say. It's only a little bit cheaper for quite a bit less.
Yeah, 5S is just a hell of a good phone for the price.
Yeah.
A 5C would have had to have been maybe half of what the cost is. And the problem is you can already get so many different phones subsidized, including the 5C, that there's not a lot of cachet in a brand new phone.
Right.
If you want to have an Apple phone, you want to have their premier phone.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in agreement that the cheaper iPhone is not cheaper enough.
Right. And my understanding is from the various blogs, news sources, podcasts, etc., that I consume, is that Apple's play with the iPhone 5C has more to do with the international market than it does with the American market.
Right. And I don't know how it's selling internationally. So.
Right. And in terms of,
or I
think it has to do with the fact that there are not many markets where phones are subsidized like they are in the United States.
Right.
And the iPhone 5C is significantly cheaper in those markets, but it's not in the American market.
Right. Well, that would make sense then. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, I've still got a 5 because I'm in the middle of my contract. I would, since a 5C is essentially a 5 just with a plastic back on it, I mean, you know, I like having the 5 more than I would like a 5C, to be honest.
Right. That's a sort of a confusing proposition because do they still sell the 5 in a low capacity like they did, or is the 5C there?
I think the 5C's it. I think the 5 just went away. You know,
yeah,
maybe a better strategy would have been to have the 5 in America and the 5C overseas. But
yeah,
then,
maybe.
You know, you never know what people are going to want, because if it was overseas, people would want it because they couldn't get
it. Right. And I understand the appeal of a new phone as opposed to discounting last year's phone.
Right.
Which makes perfect sense, but the problem is I think Apple may have tried to be a little too cute because the 5C is in fact last year's phone.
Yeah.
You know, 95% of the way.
Right. Just dressed up a bit. A little too transparent in their strategy.
Yeah. If they were going to do that, maybe just, you know, continue the old strategy until they had, or you could have done that, but just make it significantly cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to compete on price, then compete on price. It's just, and maybe that's, and maybe that's just the thing, people aren't thinking of it the right way. This is last year's phone. Apple just basically did you the favor of, giving you some color options.
Yes.
As opposed to, because a lot of people thought before it came out, this is going to be Apple's cheap phone.
Mm-hmm.
When Apple really never made that claim, and then when it came out, everybody's like, "Oh, this ain't going to work."
Well, and again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I really think what it is that we're seeing is a function of us looking at solely focusing on the American market. Because remember, elsewhere in the world, people like to buy unsubsidized phones outright and then buy their service separately so they aren't locked into a character.
Right.
Or a character. Like Gilligan from Gilligan's Island.
Buddy.
Or the Skipper. A character is a carrier is what I'm trying to tell you. They don't want to be locked into the carrier, so they buy their hardware and their service separately. Now, when you buy a 5S unlocked, you're talking about $600.
Yeah.
Now, when you buy a 5C unlocked, you're talking about $200. So again, overseas, in international markets, the 5C is a much bigger deal.
Right. And Apple does not, earlier I made the comment, I don't know how it's selling overseas, but Apple doesn't break it out for you. They're just like, we sold this many iPhones, and that's all they ever say.
Yep.
So, and this is just hearsay again. It's from a rumor site, I think the original source is a rumor site. Electronista is, I think, an arm of Macworld. But at any rate, we don't even know if it's true or not.
Right.
But
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it were.
Shock me. It wouldn't shock me. This is not Apple related, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless. And this is an article from Kotaku I saw about how to get the best deals at GameStop dumpster dive.
Yes.
And
so what's the story with that?
Well, apparently they throw away a lot of good shit. And, it's always, I've always heard stuff about that for like any electronics retail. Like, I've always heard at Best Buy, you can go dive in their dumpsters. And, it's not so much, I'm not surprised that they throw shit away because I know they're the rule, the corporate rules for doing stuff. If you don't want to sell it, you have to destroy it. And I think they're just being lazy. They're just putting the shit in the trash. They're not destroying
not
it.
Bothering to take care of it. And most retailers have similar policies.
Right.
I mean, whether it's clothing, whether it's a department store, that stuff becomes a tax write-off. I remember back when I worked at the charming and lovely 9th Street Bakery, we used to get books brought to us by customers who will remain nameless because it wasn't really a legal thing to do, because bookstores, when the books are unsold, they have to deface them, tear off the cover off, and then supposedly throw them away, but they would give them to us because they're taking a tax write-off on those unsold books.
Yeah, and I used to know a guy who worked at a newsstand, same thing.
Yep.
Tore the cover off the magazine, was supposed to throw it away, and of course he gave them to all his buddies. Mm-hmm. Because just going to read them, and then we would throw them away. So what difference does it make? But we're talking about electronic equipment, and I put this in here for the overall conversation, not just because of anything specific to GameStop, but just that, like we were talking about, just this seems to be a fairly common practice. Mm-hmm. And I've never been quite sure because people are like, why don't they donate it? Blah blah blah, and I'm sure there's probably some bean counter reason, some tax advantage or what.
Well, part of it is definitely a tax situation, because they are going to write off those. They're going to get some tax credit for those unsold units.
Yeah, something to the effect that the loss is worth more to them in tax terms than would be the write off
if they donate
from charity.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shitty, but I can understand it at least.
And also probably I don't want to be pessimistic, but certainly in the case of restaurants, you can't do it because when you donate that food, let's say that milk is 1 hour too old, or that cheese is 1 hour too old, and somebody gets sick, then their ungrateful ass is going to show up and sue you. That's happened, and I suspect there's something similar in regard to donated items where they still hold some type of service or support liability.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand with a restaurant, we're talking about food items meant to be consumed, etc. But, I don't know how that would work with electronics. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't think it's them just trying to be an asshole.
Yeah,
they might be an asshole incidentally.
What would the point of that be?
They're not just doing it just because.
And there's a lot of malicious intent assigned to people in our society. And, GameStop sucks just in and of itself. You don't need to invent anything bad about them. They're just horrible.
Right.
But yes, there's nothing. If they're doing it for a reason. It's not just because, they don't want an impoverished child to have that game. There's some reason. They're like dangling it. They have a group of impoverished children come over to the GameStop
and watch them throw it away.
Hey, look at this.
Right.
Gods of War going in the garbage can, you son of a
Here's the
freaking
3DS.
poor child.
It's just got a scratch on the back. There's nothing wrong with it. It's junk.
So no, that's not what they're doing. I don't think.
No, God, I would hope not. You're going straight to hell. Do not pass go.
I doubt they believe in Jeebus over at the GameStop.
Probably not.
Godless heathen bastards.
So the last item in the retail segment of our podcast, I just think this is interesting because
I do too.
Of all the, because people talk about how Android's doing well and Samsung's the number one Android. But really, Samsung ain't got no interest in helping out Google.
Not a bit.
So Samsung can do without Google, they will. Particularly since Google has been tightening the reins on the Android licenses and just various things they do to lock you in and make it overall unpleasant.
Right.
To be a partner with them.
Largely, you're right. Samsung has no particular interest in helping Google, and in fact, as you're kind of alluding to right now, their interests are starting to come into opposition with one another.
Right.
And of course, the point of this is, did we even say what the fucking article was about?
I was just about to say, yeah. So yeah.
So that this conversation makes a modicum of sense.
If you're, not in front of a computer. So yeah, the article is that a site has a hands-on test with Samsung's Tizen OS, which is an alternative OS on their phones, and they were saying essentially that it's actually a pretty decent Android clone.
Mm-hmm.
And we're bringing this up because it's a big deal, because if the biggest Android reseller stops selling phones with Android on it,
and the only Android reseller that's making money,
right? What does that mean for Google?
It can't mean anything good, and good. I'm glad to see this happening,
right?
Because Google has tried to Windowsify the mobile OS market, except for they're not even. Microsoft made their money off licensing. Google's making their money off advertising. They're just giving this shit away.
Microsoft's also making money off of Android.
Right.
You'll recall.
Exactly.
Speaking of licensing.
So it's really frustrating, the idea that, once again, an operating system that caters to the lowest common denominator might, drive other more worthwhile competitors out of the market. Not Apple. Apple's too big and entrenched at this point to drive them. I'm talking about Palm, the fine Palm OS.
Palm, yeah.
And I'm not saying that sarcastically. Palm actually had a very nice operating system by the end.
I thought it was pretty slick.
BlackBerry had some good stuff. I'm talking about them in the past tense, like they're already gone.
BlackBerry, yeah.
It might as well be.
I put BlackBerry in the same area, at least in my thought process, as Radio Shack. Doesn't even enter into my head anymore.
Yeah, mine hardly either. And if we weren't talking about a mobile OS article, then I wouldn't have thought of them. But anyway, the point is they've driven a lot of decent companies and decent OSs out of the marketplace through this strategy of giving away their software.
And funnily enough, they're crowding out Microsoft as well by doing that sort of thing, and which that's some delicious irony all its own. But
sure is.
Everything I've heard about Windows Phone is that it's actually pretty good, but a lot of people won't ever get to know it. I mean, I won't have one personally, but it's an option that people at the rate we're going may not have.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that they won't, because who's going to license? Apple's not going to license iOS.
Right.
Don't hold your breath, Grandpa. That's not going to occur. Steve Jobs is dead, but he ain't that dead.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want no zombie Jobs popping up at the new spaceship
if you
headquarters.
Don't think his half-eaten corpse will bust right in those front doors, you try it.
You're confused.
You try it.
But yes, Apple's going to be fine, but Microsoft, how do you make any money licensing an operating system if Google's just going to give you their half-assed operating system for free?
I mean, they had to outright buy a handset maker to make any go of it whatsoever.
Yep.
I mean, they're only making a go of it because they're Microsoft and they have the resources.
Tons
to do
of
it.
Cash reserves.
Yeah. So they can afford to eat it for a while, as they've done with video games, for instance.
But I don't see any end game for them. I mean, ultimately, I think they're going to be in trouble in video games too, because I think Apple's going to get into that. But that's a whole other podcast topic.
Right.
I think
it's still not really profitable for them.
No, they're not making a lot of money off Xbox.
How long do you continue to? Is it?
And it looks like this generation they're going to get their clock cleaned again.
Right. So as as obsessed as shareholders are with growth and grow your market share, blah blah blah. How long are they going to let Microsoft continue dumping money into these projects?
Mm-hmm.
But they expect to turn a profit, and Microsoft's making their money the same place they've always made their money, and we're drifting off topic.
Yes,
but like that's never happened on this podcast. At any rate,
also Dachshunds. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just getting completely off topic.
Oh, okay. Non sequitur.
Wiener dogs.
Hey, green. So yeah, I'm really interested in this, and I just think even if it could be just a ploy on Samsung's part, just to give them a lever against Google, be like, we can anytime we can bail out,
But you know what? I don't think it's just a ploy, and here's why. Because Samsung has been very subtly forking their operating system from the get-go to make it look more like a Samsung phone and less like another Android phone.
And they're basically kindling it.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
And that's another interesting, Amazon has basically cut Google completely out of the equation and don't suffer for having done it, because since they position their product as media consumption, it does not matter if you can't get the Google apps, if you can't get the Gmail app, if you can't get Google Maps. They don't really care, because that's not what they're expecting you to do.
They don't care if you buy those to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And furthermore, I mean, the fact of the matter is that still, even with that being the case, 90% of the apps that anyone's going to look for are still going to work on a Fire.
Yep. And they're about selling their content anyway. So, again, that's not...
They just don't care.
The same place. It's not apples to apples.
No.
But, so yeah, I'd like to see where this goes. I'm so torn. I'm ordinarily not for Samsung, but in the case of Google versus Samsung, I'd like to see what Samsung does. So.
Well, right, the enemy of my enemy and all that sort of business.
Indeed.
I would love for Samsung to hose Google, because I just don't like Google in terms of their business practices. I think they're a good company, and they've got a lot of clever people working for them, and they've got a nice sense of whimsy, and there's things to like about them.
Still the best search engine by far.
By far. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this: how does Apple make their money? Selling gadgets. How does Samsung make their money? Selling gadgets. How does Google make their money? Selling your personal data.
People.
It's just not
advertising.
It's not a wholesome business proposition to me. And I know that's me being a little snotty, but I just don't think that's good.
Well, it's
For the
not
consumer.
It's not even so much that they do that. It's that they try and tell you they don't. As we've said many times, like if you want to if this is what you want your business to be, fine, but don't have that as your business and try and say you don't.
Correct.
It's like we were talking about with Samsung. If you way back many podcasts ago, if your modus operandi is going to be, we're gonna copy the most popular thing as close as we can and still remain legal.
Yes.
And maybe not even then. Fine, but just, own up to it.
Well, yeah, if I was Samsung, my company motto would be kind of like an iPhone.
Right. Which I know there are legal ramifications for but you get what we're saying. Just be honest. Be intellectually honest about what you're up to. That's all I'm saying.
Google's company motto should be, we're going to sell information about your habits.
And here's some free stuff that to you might make it worth your while.
You might enjoy having these nifty services
in exchange
for us selling data about your habits.
Your demographics data. Would that be so terrible? Say that?
It would be less terrible if they said it.
Yeah.
But of course, if they said it, people would throw a fit.
The world we live in.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's all we have to say about that. So let's jete over to the entertainment world. So I don't have a ton to say about this, but there's a new Transformers trailer out, and we
saw it tonight.
Coincidentally saw it tonight. First released on Michael Bay's website. So it's a new trailer. It's not the same one they've had out there. We get to see a little bit more about what it's about. At this point, I'm like, if you do not like the Transformers movies, I don't see anything that's going to change your mind here. If you already liked them, it looks like more of that.
Yep.
So, maybe minus Shia LaBeouf, which is a plus in my book. But,
mine too.
Coolest part for me is
Used to like that kid.
Say what?
Said I used to like that kid too.
Yeah.
He's gone off the fucking rails, dude.
He's on the cracks, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a cool trailer for, if no other reason than watching Optimus Prime bitch slap Grimlock.
God damn, did he bitch slap him?
I still
Excuse my language. I'm sorry, Lord. I shouldn't say GD. Gosh darn, did he bitch slap him?
I still don't approve of Optimus Prime having a mouth. That being said,
what I found funny about the trailer is that they're trying to reboot the series without changing the director or the production
or
team.
anything about it. Really.
Yes, they're trying to
change
reboot
the stars.
It. Yes,
that's like it. But yeah, it's even got Fraser, Kelsey Grammer, doing his little voiceover about it's a new age now.
Yeah,
and
I don't know exactly the story. I don't know if you've read any plot overviews.
I have not, no.
But it seemed like from the trailer where they're going with it is, and they kind of did this. It seems like a retread of a little bit of the plot from the last Transformer movie, where it seems like the government has said, no, you have no role here anymore, Autobots, and the Autobots either get attacked or go into hiding or become illegal, because the trailer opens up with this big ass piece of shit junker 18-wheeler that you immediately know is Optimus Prime.
Right.
But it looks like they're trying to do a non-reboot reboot.
Right. And the impression I get is that apparently at some point humans became a lot better at fighting Transformers.
Apparently.
And have the Autobots and Transformers in general back on their heels.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what role the Decepticons play in this, because we really haven't seen them in either of the trailers. Well, we might have seen them and just not know it, because we've got spaceships again showing up from I don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who's on them. We don't know what they're doing. We got that one that turned his face into a gun and shot Optimus Prime with
Well, that's the new whatchamadoogle. They've actually turned the guy that's supposed to turn into a gun.
Galvatron?
Yes,
Shockwave?
he turns into a gun now. No,
Megatron.
Megatron, yes.
So Megatron's still not dead.
Right, Megatron is not dead, and he actually does turn into a
and his
gun now.
Face turns into a gun.
Now, at least that's what I read several months ago, so maybe that's apocryphal, but
Yeah.
I read that, yes, Megatron now actually turns into a gun, and maybe they change him into, in the process, what did he evolve into and transform? Galvatron.
Yeah.
So maybe he becomes Galvatron in the process.
Yeah, maybe that's how he arrives at this new configuration, because like you said, in the movie, the original movie in '86, that's what happened. Megatron got his ass kicked, was turned into Galvatron.
Yep.
So, yeah, the bottom line for me is I like watching big robots slap the shit out of each other, so, of course, I will go and see, and I'm sure enjoy it.
I've seen all of them, and I've enjoyed all of
With
them.
no Shia LaBeouf, so even better.
The only thing I would like to see is, and of course there's no chance of this, is for the robot fight scenes to get choreographed in a more coherent fashion.
Yeah.
Michael Bay just doesn't seem to want to do it. Sometimes the action is so fast, I don't have the time to enjoy it because I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm like, is Optimus winning? Is he getting his ass kicked? It's just a big-ass tangle of spark plugs and soldering irons.
It doesn't work well with the design of the robots either, because, they just look like a big pile of animated scrap anyway. So
Yes.
you get two of them fighting and moving around real fast, because that's the other thing. I remember hearing him talk about this. He wanted them to be fast, not lumbering robots, So, yes, they are fast, but they're so fast that, two of them start getting into it. You really don't know what's going on.
No. And our close personal friend of the podcast, I think, close personal friend, Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo.
Yeah, Guillermo, who we talked about before, and in my heart, I feel like he's a close personal
I feel
friend.
like he would be. It's just a technicality that he's never met us.
He's about our size.
Certainly.
I bet he would like to have some SoCo.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate,
Maybe some tequila.
tequila. Is that racist? I hope not.
I can't even keep track anymore.
Yeah, there's no telling. It could be. If so, we apologize. We don't mean anything by that. Is he Spanish? He's Spanish, like from Spain, right? Guillermo? He's from somewhere.
Well, I know he's Spanish, but I do not know where he's from.
Anywhere. We'll buy you whatever you want, bro. Come on, do the podcast. At any rate, yes, he did.
Bring Ron Perlman.
He did. Goddamn, bring Rod Perlman. Word. I said it again. I'm so sorry, Lord. I don't say GD. I'll say motherfucker a million times, but I try not to say GD. I apologize, audience. I'm going to stop doing
I
that.
didn't realize you made that distinction.
Yes, I curse like a sailor, but I try not to say GD, Lord's name in vain, all that business.
Right.
But he did a far better job of it in Pacific Rim than Michael Bay has done in any of the Transformer movies. So I'm like, hopefully Michael Bay went to see Pacific Rim and said, oh, here's how I can do a giant creature fight more coherently.
Right. And have you be able to follow what the fuck is going on.
Precisely.
Speaking of robots, how's that for a segue?
Boom.
A story.
Like a pro, son.
This is a few weeks old now, but saw Paul Bettany has joined the cast of Avengers 2 as Vision. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that means he's going to be physically playing him or if it's just going to be a voice, much the way James Spader is doing Ultron.
America, if you are unaware, the Vision is, in the Marvel Comics universe, an android that is an Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
He was created by Hank Pym, is that right?
Yep.
And his son is Ultron, or he is Ultron's son? How does that work?
I don't think he and Ultron have any relationship other than having been created by Hank Pym.
Pym, okay. So, but one of them has a son, right? Don't they have a family member? Anyway, regardless, yes, the Vision is an android. And the cool thing about the Vision, at least when I was a kid, is that he doesn't look anything like an android.
Right.
He looks like a weird red dude in a magician's outfit.
He's kind of alien looking.
Yeah.
The parallel I've always seen made is he's the closest to being the Martian Manhunter type of character from Justice League.
Right.
They're very analogous in a lot of ways.
He's also a peculiar. He doesn't do many android or robot-like things.
Right. It's just like a dude with superpowers who happens to be an android.
Right.
Yeah.
He is. Help me out with this because I've never quite understood it. His power is that he can increase and decrease his molecular density. Right. Okay.
So he can make himself as heavy as whatever is lead. I know one of his things is he would fighting an enemy. He would turn himself massive and land on their head or shit like that. Or
turn himself really
intangible, right?
Sparse, his molecule, and you would pass right through it.
Right. I know a gag he liked to do is he'd make his hand intangible and plunge it into your chest, and it would like stun you, or whatever.
Yep.
Along with all the standard robot stuff, which you can interface with computers, that kind of thing. But they never really played up that angle.
No, for years I didn't realize as a kid reading Avengers stuff in the mid to late 70s, I never realized he was an android. I just thought he was a superhero called the Vision.
Right. And I just happened to find out he was an android before I started reading Avengers and that kind of thing. So I didn't get a chance. But it was also in the mid 80s is when I kind of got into it, and at that point they were starting to play up that angle a little more because of course computers were gaining in popularity. So it's like, oh, well, we've got a character who's a robot. What can he do?
Now that you think about that, when you think of do you know when he was created? He wasn't an original Avenger, I know, but I don't know when and under what circumstances he was created. But now that I think about it, he
I think the 70s, but I'm not sure.
There you go. First appearance was in the Avengers 57 in 1968.
Oh, wow.
Because I was thinking to myself, yeah, he looks like a, air quotes, android that they would have come up with in the 70s.
Right.
Back when you couldn't do, it just wasn't cool. It wasn't in vogue to do a 1950s looking metal robot.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't have a Robbie the Robot style robot kicking around.
Right. So if you go look him up, he just looks like a red dude in a yellow and green magician's outfit.
You might also see a version of him in white. He went through a period in the 80s, which is about when I started following him, because it was during that time when they thought he might have been the original Human Torch, just reconstituted.
Right.
And turned out not to be. But
original Human Torch, for those of you who have sex lives, was also an android,
right.
who
before
remained on fire. Had nothing to do with Johnny Storm, really.
Right.
He was an android that was on fire and flew around, and he was a member of the Invaders.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. A group that was also featured Captain America, did it not?
Yep.
Before he got frozen.
Yep.
Right.
It was like Human Torch, Bucky, Namor, Captain America.
Fuck, dude, we just went deep.
Spitfire.
We just went so deep. So, We're talking about the Invaders right now.
We lost a good half the audience right there.
Woo!
There was also a
some dude in Poughkeepsie literally turned to his wife and go, "I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about."
I thought we was going to talk about Apple. I don't know what these guys are on about now. There was a Human Torch Easter egg in Captain America.
Yes.
Well, by the way, go look it up.
It sure was. It was really cool. He was in a glass case.
Yep. And I think that makes it pretty clear that that just strengthens the whole Tony Stark involvement, which they're apparently using for Ultron this go around, because of course Paul Bettany was the voice of Jarvis in all the Iron Man movies and in the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, if he decides to physically play him, they don't really have to put any makeup on him. He's pretty pale.
Paul Bettany's a weird cat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
basically just shave his head and
put a suit on him.
Yeah.
Yep, because the motherfucker looks like loose leaf notebook paper. I mean, he is a pale British dude. He's never seen the sunlight.
And he's tagging Jennifer Connelly.
And he's humping it nightly, one presumes.
Must be.
How could he not be? I would.
It's disturbing.
How is that possible? At least we got...
It's got to be the accent. It's got to be.
There's a couple of we got an American dude
Straps it to his leg. I don't.
all the way down to the ankle. He's got a little thing. He like ropes it off down there. But well, you know, they say what's that other? Wait a minute. Fassbender's German, isn't he?
I don't know.
Anyway, we're talking about Europeans with big ding dongs now. Yeah. I'm surprised that I was surprised at the casting, but pleased. Mm-hmm. I think he'll make a very fine Vision.
Yeah, I think he'll be cool.
Yeah, he looks like what the Vision should look like.
Yep. So if he does play him physically, that's fine too. So yeah,
he might just be a model for a CGI effect for all we know.
Yeah, ain't no telling. We don't know what Joss Whedon has in mind, but he has earned my trust. So
yep,
I'm sure it will be highly enjoyable. So speaking of the Avengers, I saw, and this may only benefit some of you. It coincidentally benefits us just because of where we happen to live. But they're going to have some Captain America Winter Soldier early fan screenings on March 20th, I think, with tickets going on sale the morning of the 14th, I believe. And one of those places is Raleigh. Amazingly enough.
North Carolina.
So, you want to try and get in on that?
I'm definitely going to get in on that. I don't like Raleigh as a longtime Durhamite. It's a local rivalry, but I like them enough to go see Captain America early.
Well, yeah. You do
and I like them better than cities outside of North Carolina.
Certainly. It is the capital, after all.
We love North Carolina.
The Cackalack. So, yeah, at any rate, if you're in, what are the appointed cities? The least I can do is tell you that much.
The big ones, and then Kansas City was one of them, New York, L.A.
I brought Austin, Chicago, Kansas City, L.A., New York City, Orlando, Philadelphia, Raleigh, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. So if you are listening from any of those cities, you're in luck, or anywhere close enough to drive to those cities. So yeah, y'all should check that out. And if we go see it early, we can review it early before it even comes out.
That's right.
So we'll try and do that for y'all.
Hell yes, we will.
That's how much we love you.
And then we'll be a superstar.
That's right. So continuing Marvel movie news, of course, since we've last met. There's been a Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. Which
I've got a feeling.
looks far, far better than you would think a Guardians of the Galaxy movie should look.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy are not a big deal in the Marvel Universe because they've never really had much success.
Such an oddball. Well, we've talked about it before. An odd movie for them to have picked. But yeah, the trailer looked really good. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. It's funny. There's plenty of adventure, science fiction. I mean, God, they like tick off all the boxes, man.
And it's got one of our favorite entertainers, John C. Reilly, featured in it. Love that guy. Love that guy and everything he's in.
The Nova Corps,
yep,
of all things. So yeah, I was really surprised at how good that looked. Although, it's not the Guardians of the Galaxy of my youth.
No, of course not.
There's no Charlie 27.
And it also looks like they're playing Star-Lord as a cornball.
Yeah.
And I think Star-Lord was played straight in the comics, at least all the ones
I think he was back in the day when he first came around, but I think that's agreeing with the current portrayal of Star-Lord.
Gotcha. There you go, because I haven't been cognizant of Guardians of the Galaxy since the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, when I read it, it was, Starhawk, Charlie 27, Martin X, who was the guy who had Captain American Vance Astro, those guys. And it was set in the future. So, a variety of reasons that would be even harder to make work.
Do you know where the character Rocket Raccoon came from?
I remember he came out in his own comic way back.
Yeah, he's introduced in The Incredible Hulk.
Was he?
Of all comics, yes, sir.
Was that
Daddy owns that comic.
Daddy should hang on to that comic.
Yeah.
It's probably going to go up.
That is, I think what happened is they had already planned the miniseries, the Rocket Raccoon miniseries, and they wanted to publicize it, so they introduced him in The Incredible Hulk.
Yep, that's how Marvel used to do.
So technically, his first appearance was in The Incredible Hulk.
Yep. And then they didn't do anything with him for years and years, and then
Yeah, because it's a raccoon with a laser gun.
Yep.
That's where that idea is.
Exactly. Interesting, they're just calling him Rocket. I guess it's implied that he's a raccoon.
Because you can look at him, right?
Redundant. And bringing up the rear, which this is going to work out pretty well because we're just about at an hour. The last episode of the Community TV show.
What a show.
We love it so much.
It's the best show on TV.
So awesome to have Dan Harmon back. You can't even say. I like that they're calling the year without him the, what was it, the paint fume years?
The gas leak.
Gas leak.
The gas leak year. Well, the funny thing is that year wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't awful.
But it was definitely different from the Harmon seasons.
Definitely a step down.
Yeah.
But at any rate, this past episode, so much to like as usual. But such an awesome tribute to 70s sci-fi.
That's all it was, baby.
Logan's Run in particular, but there was lots of others in there.
We should probably give it a quick overview. The central idea is, what's it called? Meow Beans?
Meow Meow Beans.
Meow Meow Beans is this app, and you walk around.
The guys who developed it wanted to beta test it using the student population
of Greendale.
Yeah.
And basically what it is you go around, and by the way you behave, people vote you up or vote you down.
Right.
And if you're familiar with, in fact, we made fun of Cory Doctorow earlier in the podcast.
Right.
If you've ever read, and we make fun of him because we enjoy the work of Cory Doctorow greatly. And if you've ever read any of Cory Doctorow, one of his books, and maybe other stories of his, I'm not sure, but the one I'm most familiar with is Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
Features this social system a system of social currency called Woofy.
Woofy. It's
And
basically people just give it to you if they think you're cool.
yes, if they like what you're doing, you get more Woofy and become more famous and have more access to resources and prestigious, etc. This is the idea behind the latest episode of Community.
Yep, and
with
they
Meow
rate
Meow
you
Beans.
on a 1 to 5 scale, and of course factions. You get the caste system with the threes hang out with each other. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants anything to do with a one. A one is an outcast.
Yes.
Basically, you're banished to the outlands.
You have to be outside. You can't even be in a school building.
The threes and fours kind of pal around together. They'll consent to each other's company. Mm-hmm. The twos are allowed indoors. That's about where it stops. And the five are like the Eloi, enjoying.
There's only a few of them because they are the supreme highest order of humanity,
Right, including that Kugler dude.
Yeah,
who just came out of nowhere.
So what was funny about the episode? Well, it's just a good episode in general, but what was great about it is it's just peppered with 70 science fiction references. Yep. First of all, they talk about Logan's Run. They actually have two of the security guards at Greendale are wearing Sandman uniforms.
Logan's Run outfit. Yep.
And I didn't realize until the end of the show, because it just didn't occur to me, Starburns is wearing Sean Connery's costume from Zardoz the entire episode. So if you are a fan of,
and if you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Zardoz
and you'll see
it will become immediately apparent,
and it's horrific.
And you'll laugh your ass off.
But whether you like Community or not, if you're just a big fan of science fiction, you've got to watch it because there's a million Easter eggs and a million in jokes. There's basically an entire scene from Logan's Run. The carousel scene is in there. Just tons and tons and tons of things from 70s sci-fi, which, Harmon is a product of that era,
certainly.
as are the two of us.
Our age, yeah.
Yep.
So, yes, there's enough reasons to watch Community as is, but there's yet another good one.
And
good episode.
Not the least of which is the comely and adorable Allison Brie.
Indeed.
If you need no other reason, really, to watch it or anything that she appears in.
I read we need to get another a letter.
Yes, I am going to, absolutely, on the next podcast. I already started composing it.
Excellent.
Another Dear Allison letter. We got such tremendous positive feedback on the first one
We really did.
that we realized we had to do a sequel.
Yep. So yeah, we're right at an hour now, so that worked out pretty well.
Perfect.
And I think you've probably had enough of us, so we're going to sign off. We'll be back next week, roughly the same bat time, same bat channel. Just, if you're subscribed in iTunes, as you well should, then a new episode will just appear. You don't even have to do anything.
Remember, we're on iTunes.
That's right.
Hit that subscribe button, and you're done. You're
And
gonna
review it.
you're gonna get the new episode whenever it comes out.
Do some reviews. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell anybody. Tell random people on the street. Please, for the love of God.
Just tell them, Christ Almighty.
Is it so much to ask?
After
so much
all
time out of
we've
your
done
day?
for you.
God. Ingrate. Anyway. So, yes, I'm your host, Corey,
My name's Matt.
and we'll see you next time.
Later.